Guys, and the big question today is, should I refinance my mortgage? Okay, so there's many reasons why you'd want to refinance your mortgage, especially right now. You could either do it through consolidating debt, just putting all your debt together and reducing the cost of interest on your debt. But for today's topic, why I'll be talking about should you refinance in the situation that we're in right now is for cash flow and investing in your own debt. What do I mean by investing in your own debt? Is decreasing the interest rates, because when you're doing these strategies, you're essentially investing in your debt and you're doing essentially the same thing as the bank. Because if you find situations where you can borrow at a lower cost and you had it at 3.5% and now you're at 1.75%, well, you just cut your interest rates by half. Of course, you have to ask yourself other questions before you say to yourself, okay, yeah, it's logic to cut my interest rate by half, but I have to consider the cost of doing that. So let's say you have some other debts, 18%, 7%, and you want to put it on your house. Well, essentially, I think it's a good way to reduce your interest costs, because if you're paying 18 or 7% and on your house you're paying 2 to 3%, it's logic that you're gonna consolidate your debt. Okay, but let's go where I want to be talking about today: cash flow. When you reduce your interest rates, what happens is that it usually increases your cash flow, because it costs you less every month to pay your mortgage. Like, let's say you want to pay your mortgage on a 30-year term, 30-year loan. Now that the interest rates have gone down, well, usually it's going to take you about 25 years to pay that same mortgage. Now, you could pay it off in 25 years, or you could reduce your payments and put it back on that 30-year loan to reduce your monthly payments. This is more money in your pockets. Okay, depending on what strategy you're doing. If you're in real estate, you're investing in real estate, this strategy I do all the time, because if I can get another $200 of cash flow, I can invest that in another deal, or I can invest it in another deal. Now, if interest rates decreases, okay, let's look at an example. This is an example that is happening to me right now. I just refinanced another deal and the banks called me again and they want to know if I want to refinance another property. So I asked them, what's the penalty? They told me, well, it's $4,500. I said, is it negotiable? Because I think that's really expensive. And they said, well, we could bring it down to $3,500. Okay, I'm gonna try to negotiate that again. You can negotiate with the banks. If you leave your term there and you refinance with them, you can negotiate how much it's going to cost you your penalty. Of course, you have to play your cards, okay? There's many cards. You don't show all your cards when you start out. And it also helps when another bank approaches you to get your loan, okay? Always try to use two banks to negotiate. Now, in 3 years, when I calculated how much interest I would save around $7,500 in 3 years. So I get a profit of around $4,000. If you calculate the rate of return on your money, you invest $3,500 right now, you save $7,500 in 3 years, that comes up to around 30% return over a year. Let's look at this. When you refinance, you can take that money and put it on a loan. You don't even have to show up with the money to do this deal. You can borrow it from the bank. They add it on to your loan. Remember, I went from a 3.09% to a 1.75%. So essentially, you're borrowing at a 1.75% to make around 30% of income. So this is 25 times the value. Compared to when you're borrowing, because you didn't even come up with this money. You just took the situation and you put it in your advantage. Why am I saying this? Is because when you essentially start to think like this, it gives you the ability to become like the bank. Essentially, you didn't have the money, you borrowed the money, you created the money, they put it on your loan, and you're making a 30% return per year on that money. So is it a good deal? Of course, in this example, it's a good deal. But I've seen some people that their penalties were almost $12,000 or $15,000. This is crazy. You don't want to be, unless you do the calculations and the savings of interest are still higher than the cost of the penalty. Okay, then you do it. Like, just remember, always try to understand how much is this giving me returns per year. This is the 30% return per year. This is practically the best investment that you can make. You can't even make this in stocks. You can't even make this in real estate. You can't even make this in tax-lien certificates. You can make about 10% in a tax-lien certificate risk-free. You can make, if you're lucky, 7 to 8% return in the stock market, and in real estate you can make about 20%. It depends on how you structure real estate, because a lot of people look at the asset but they don't take into consideration it's how you structure that business that gives you the return on investment. All right, so should I refinance my mortgage? It depends. Okay, if you can get a better return from the money that you invest, of course you should refinance, especially right now. If interest rates stay low, you can lock it down at a 1.75% for the next 5 years. I've calculated this on a 3-year term. So imagine if you can put that on 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and you save all this interest. You're saving that interest, you're saving that cash flow. And then in this example, I was saving $5,500 of cash flow in 3 years. So this $5,500, I can take that money and reinvest it in real estate, stocks, bonds, anything that I want to put my money in. And in this case, in this example, of course, this makes logical sense to refinance. If your situation is the same or about the same, maybe you should go see your bank, try to negotiate, and always try to come up with 2 banks that are offering one offer, the other offer, and you could always say, okay, this bank is giving me this bank is giving me that, and that's why I always try to have at least 2 banks. I'm gonna be with one bank, the other bank, and both of them are gonna giving me offers, and that way I have leverage. Okay, if you like this kind of information, leave the like button. I'm really trying to share. I'm really transparent with you guys. You can subscribe for more content like this, and I'll be seeing you on the next video. Thank you.